turning point is unfolding in someone's heart, and you may not see it yet because this person has become skilled at hiding what they feel. On the surface, they may appear composed, careful, even distant. But beneath that calm exterior, something is becoming impossible to ignore. The connection they once tried to explain away has grown stronger, and the feelings they hoped would fade have only become more focused. This younger admirer is no longer asking whether the age difference should matter. They are beginning to ask a more serious question. What happens if they keep denying something that feels real? They think about the way you carry yourself, the depth behind your words, and the confidence that comes from experience. You affect them in a way that is both comforting and intimidating. Comforting because they feel seen around you. Intimidating because your opinion matters more than they want to admit. And there is another layer here. This person may be preparing to show you that their feelings are not impulsive, temporary, or built on fantasy. They want to be taken seriously. They want to prove that emotional maturity is not measured by age alone. Welcome to Astral Card Vault. This is a general reading based on psychological symbolism, so take only what resonates and leave the rest behind. If this message speaks to your heart like the video and comment I receive, courageous love. The first card appearing in this reading is Strength, and its message changes the emotional temperature immediately. This is not the energy of someone rushing forward because they are overwhelmed by desire. It is the energy of someone learning how to hold powerful feelings without allowing fear to control them. The lion on this card represents instinct, longing, pride, and the part of this admirer that wants to act before they feel fully ready. The figure beside the lion represents patience, self-respect, and emotional mastery. Together they suggest that this person is not trying to destroy what they feel for you. They are trying to understand it, contain it, and approach it with care. For many of you, this admirer has replayed small moments far more often than you realize. A glance that lasted a second longer. A message that felt unusually warm. A conversation that followed them into the quiet hours of the night. These memories become private evidence. They examine your tone, your smile, and the way you respond to them, searching for some indication that this connection may not exist only in their imagination. But this is where the reading becomes more serious. Strength suggests that the age gap has not weakened their feelings. It has challenged them to become more grounded. They know you may question whether they are ready for the kind of connection they seem to want. Because of that, they may be quietly improving their habits, career finances, communication, or emotional discipline. They do not want to impress you with dramatic promises. They want their consistency to speak before their confession does. There is deep admiration here as well. They are drawn to your wisdom, your composure, and the sense that you know yourself. Your experience does not make them want to retreat. It makes them want to rise. Around you, they become more aware of who they could be if they stopped hiding behind uncertainty. Psychologically, strength is the moment when desire becomes courage. It does not guarantee an outcome, and it does not force action before the time is right. But it suggests that this person is reaching a point where silence may feel more painful than honesty. They are no longer trying to erase the connection. They are trying to become brave enough to honor it. That courage does not remain abstract for long. It leads directly into a private awakening that asks this person to face what they already know. Judgment appears here, and its energy suggests that this person is reaching a private awakening. Psychologically, this card represents the moment when someone can no longer hide from what they already know about themselves. They may still be quiet, they may still be cautious, but inside they are beginning to admit that what they feel for you is not a passing fascination. It has become personal. This younger admirer may have first been drawn to your presence without understanding why. They noticed your confidence, your emotional awareness, or the calm way you handled something that would have unsettled someone else. At first, they may have called it curiosity, then admiration, then attraction. But those explanations are no longer enough. Judgment suggests that they are reviewing the entire connection differently now. They remember short conversations that seemed ordinary at the time, but later carried unexpected emotional weight. They recall a small detail you mentioned and wonder why it stayed with them. They may notice when your mood changes, even when you say nothing, because their attention naturally moves toward you. There may also be a message they have considered sending. Perhaps they wrote part of it and deleted it. Perhaps they imagined how the conversation might begin, then stopped, because the words felt too revealing. The desire to reach out is there, but so is the fear that honesty could expose just how deeply affected they have become. And the age difference makes that vulnerability sharper. They may worry that you will hear their feelings and assume they are temporary. They may fear that you will see enthusiasm, where they feel devotion, or youth, where they are trying to offer sincerity. What they want is not simply your attention. They want you to recognize that they have thought about this carefully. Judgment is not promising a confession. It is showing an internal truth becoming harder to avoid. This person is beginning to understand that silence does not make the feelings disappear. It only leaves them alone with everything they have not said. Their heart is becoming clearer. But clarity does not automatically create action. Once the truth becomes impossible to ignore, the question shifts from what they feel to what they are willing to do with it. The Two of Wands appears here, and it shows that this private conflict is not keeping them emotionally still. It is forcing them to look ahead. Psychologically, this card represents the moment when desire becomes a decision waiting to be made. This younger admirer may be standing between two versions of their future. In one, they remain silent, protect themselves from rejection, and continue wondering what might have happened. In the other, they accept that loving you may require them to risk being misunderstood. Neither choice feels easy. They may fear that speaking honestly will cause you to focus on their age before you see their character. They may worry that you will hear excitement and assume immaturity, or see nervousness and mistake it for uncertainty. Because your opinion matters so much, even a neutral response can feel heavier than it is. A delayed message, a thoughtful pause, or a moment when you seem distracted may be interpreted as a sign that they should step back. But that is not the whole truth of what is happening. The Two of Wands suggests that they are studying the distance between where they are and where they want to be. They are not only thinking about whether you feel the same, they are asking whether they are ready to become visible to you in a more honest way. The age gap has created a psychological test. Can they trust the depth of their feelings without demanding immediate reassurance? Can they approach you with confidence while still respecting your boundaries and your right to choose? This is where the energy becomes more serious. Their real dilemma is no longer whether they care for you. That question has already answered itself through the attention they give you, the moments they remember, and the future they quietly imagine. The conflict now is whether they will choose that love over fear, hesitation, and the possible judgment of other people. And the Two of Wands is not passive energy. It shows someone considering how to move with intention. Instead of retreating, this person may be examining what needs to change before they step closer. They may be thinking about how to communicate more clearly, how to become more consistent, or how to show that their feelings can survive beyond a single emotional moment. They do not want to approach you empty-handed, carrying only hope. Their hesitation has become preparation. Quietly, they are trying to make their life reflect the seriousness their heart has already reached. Yet before they can move forward, the next card reveals the invisible pressure shaping every plan they make. What they have been building is not only a more stable life, they have also been trying to escape the fear that tells them they will never be ready enough for you. The Eight of Swords appears here, and it reveals that much of this person's hesitation comes from the pressure they have placed on themselves. Psychologically, this card represents mental restriction, self-doubt, and the belief that there is no safe way forward, even when more choices exist than someone can currently see. This younger admirer may feel that they must eliminate every weakness before allowing you to know how deeply they care. They may tell themselves they need a better career position, stronger finances, clearer plans, or greater emotional control before they can approach you honestly. They are trying to become more dependable, but part of them may have turned personal growth into an impossible entrance requirement. They believe they must arrive completely prepared, and that belief keeps moving the moment of honesty farther away. For some of you, this person has been working quietly on the parts of life that make them feel less secure. They may be becoming more disciplined with money, more focused on their goals, or more careful about keeping commitments. They may be learning to communicate without becoming defensive, manage their emotions without withdrawing, or create routines that make them feel grounded. Some of this growth is genuinely for them. It is helping them become the person they want to be, regardless of what happens between you. But there is another layer here. They may also be using preparation as protection. As long as they are still working on themselves, they do not have to risk hearing your answer. They can continue imagining a future with you, while postponing the moment when the connection becomes real, mutual, and vulnerable. The age gap intensifies this pressure. Their private question may be, how do I show you that my age does not define my capacity to love responsibly? Yet the Eight of Swords suggests they may be answering that question too harshly. They assume they must prove everything before saying anything. But love does not require perfection. It requires honesty, consistency, boundaries, and the willingness to be seen as a real person, rather than a flawless possibility. This admirer may not recognize how much their fear has shaped their silence. They are not standing still because their feelings are uncertain. They are standing still because the feelings matter enough to expose every insecurity they have about being younger, being judged, or falling short of what they imagine you deserve. Still, something is beginning to break through that mental barrier. Because no matter how carefully they organize their future, Their emotions keep returning to you in the present. Even so, no amount of preparation can fully contain a feeling that keeps asking to be expressed. The Page of Swords appears here, and its energy suggests that this younger admirer is becoming increasingly alert to every possibility between you. Psychologically, this card represents curiosity, observation, unfinished communication, and the moment when thoughts begin searching for a way to become words. This person may be privately rehearsing conversations with you. They imagine how they could begin without making the moment feel too intense. They consider whether to be direct, whether to speak gradually, or whether to reveal their interest through a question that opens the door without placing pressure on you. They may even start writing a message, study it for too long, and then decide it sounds either too casual or far too revealing. Nothing feels simple when the truth matters this much. The Page of Swords also shows someone paying close attention. This admirer may remember details you assumed they had forgotten. They notice when your energy changes. They may ask thoughtful questions, remain near you a little longer than necessary, or find small reasons to continue a conversation that could have ended several minutes earlier. Their interest may appear intellectual before it appears openly romantic. They want to understand how you think, what you value, and what makes you feel emotionally safe. They are not only attracted to you, they are trying to learn the language of your inner world. But this is where the reading shifts again. What they imagine saying is more serious than "I like you." They may want to explain that the connection has changed the way they see themselves. They may want you to know that their admiration is not based on novelty or fantasy. Being younger does not make them unaware of the risks. In some ways, it makes them think about those risks even more carefully. The age difference has not removed their desire to speak. It has made them more conscious of how their words could be received. The Page of Swords does not guarantee a message or confession. It suggests that communication is becoming psychologically necessary. This person is reaching a point where observation alone no longer satisfies them. They want clarity, but they also know that clarity requires courage from both sides. Still, their attention can work against them. Because they care deeply about your response, they may analyze every pause, every change in tone, and every moment of distance. A neutral expression can feel like disapproval. A busy day can feel like emotional withdrawal. Their mind may create rejection before you have actually offered it. But the closer they come to speaking, the more fragile their old sense of emotional safety becomes. What this fear has been protecting them from is not simply rejection. It is the possibility that one honest moment could change the entire structure of the connection. The Tower appears here, and psychologically this card represents the collapse of a belief that can no longer support reality. For this younger admirer, that belief may be the idea that silence is the safest choice. They may have convinced themselves that keeping everything contained would preserve the bond between you. If they never say too much, they cannot embarrass themselves. If they never reveal how deeply they care, you cannot reduce their feelings to inexperience. If they remain careful, they can continue being close to you without risking a sudden change. But that sense of control is becoming unstable. This person's deepest fear may be that you will see their age before you see their character. They may imagine finally speaking honestly, only to hear that they are too young to understand what they want. That possibility affects them more deeply than ordinary rejection, because it would make them feel that their sincerity was never truly considered. So they overanalyze. A shorter reply may feel like a warning. A pause in conversation may seem like discomfort. If you become quiet, distracted, or emotionally guarded, they may assume they have already crossed a line, even when your behavior has nothing to do with them. But not every silence is rejection. Not every warm moment is confirmation either. The Tower asks this person to confront the difference between what is real and what fear has constructed. Healthy connection cannot be built on imagined signals alone. It requires clarity, mutual interest, respect, and room for both people to respond honestly. And there is another fear hidden beneath this one. This admirer may worry that you have begun to see them as unusually mature, responsible, or emotionally aware. Part of them may be terrified of disappointing that image. They know they still have uncertainties. They still make mistakes. They may fear that once you see their vulnerability, you will decide they are not as ready as they hope to appear. Yet the age gap continues to lose its power over their heart. Even after every doubt, every imagined consequence, and every attempt to protect the connection by remaining silent, they return to the same emotional truth. What they feel for you matters more than the number separating your experiences. The Tower does not promise sudden action. It shows that an old strategy is breaking down. Fear can no longer offer the safety it once seemed to provide, because silence is beginning to cost them something too. After that inner structure begins to crack, this person is forced to examine what all their waiting has actually created. The Seven of Pentacles appears here, and psychologically this card represents evaluation, patience, and the moment when someone asks whether waiting is still helping them, or simply keeping them hidden. This younger admirer may be reviewing the emotional path that brought them here. They think about how long they have carried these feelings, how often they have returned to thoughts of you, and how much energy they have spent trying to become ready before allowing themselves to be known. At first, patience felt responsible. Now it may be starting to feel like avoidance. They may recognize a pattern within themselves. Perhaps they have stayed silent before because they feared looking foolish. Perhaps they have allowed other people's expectations to influence choices that should have belonged to them. They may have walked away from meaningful possibilities in the past, not because they felt nothing but because uncertainty seemed easier to survive than vulnerability. But you have activated a more mature question within them. What kind of person do they become if they keep abandoning what feels true? The Seven of Pentacles suggests that this person is no longer satisfied with simply watching the connection from a safe distance. They are assessing what their silence has produced. It has protected them from immediate rejection, but it has also prevented clarity. It has given them time to grow, but it has not answered the question their heart continues asking. And this is where passive longing begins turning into personal accountability. They are realizing that choosing you does not mean assuming you will choose them in return. It means becoming honest about what they feel while respecting your boundaries, your autonomy, and your right to respond without pressure. It means accepting that emotional courage includes being prepared for a real answer, not only the answer they hope to receive. The age gap is still visible to them. They are not pretending it does not exist, but it no longer has the authority to define the connection before either of you has spoken honestly about it. For many of you, this admirer is beginning to understand that maturity is not proven by waiting forever. Sometimes maturity is knowing when reflection has done its work and when the next step requires action. The Seven of Pentacles does not guarantee that action will happen immediately. It shows someone reaching the end of an internal waiting period. They have examined their feelings. They have questioned their motives. They have tried to outgrow the fear, and the feelings remain. Their heart is moving beyond secret love and toward conscious decision. That evaluation brings them to the most emotionally exposed point in the reading, the moment when choosing you becomes more frightening than merely wanting you. The Nine of Swords appears here, and its message is not that this connection is doomed. Psychologically, this card represents anxiety, private pressure, and the exhausting habit of imagining every possible outcome before anything has been said. This younger admirer may already know what their heart wants. What frightens them is everything that could happen after they admit it. They may lie awake, replaying moments with you, wondering whether they waited too long or revealed too much without realizing it. They imagine telling you the truth, then immediately picture your expression changing. They may worry that other people will question their judgment, dismiss the connection, or treat their feelings as something they will eventually outgrow. But their greatest fear still leads back to you. They do not want you to look at them and see only someone younger. They want you to see the care behind their attention, the thought behind their restraint, and the seriousness beneath emotions they have tried so hard to manage. This is where the decision becomes clear. The Nine of Swords suggests that their suffering is no longer coming from uncertainty about how they feel. It is coming from the effort required to keep denying it. Their mind may continue presenting reasons to remain silent, but their heart has already stopped treating the age gap as a final answer. They are moving toward choosing you, not because they believe love removes every practical concern, not because they expect you to ignore your own needs, boundaries, or judgment. They are choosing to accept that respect, emotional compatibility, and shared values deserve to be considered before fear decides the outcome for both of you. That is what about to choose you means within this reading. It reflects growing emotional certainty and movement toward honesty. It does not promise a date, a message, or an unavoidable relationship. It shows someone becoming less willing to let anxiety speak on their behalf. And there is something deeply important here. You feel different from their previous attractions because you do not simply excite them. You make them examine themselves. Loving you asks them to become more honest, more responsible, and more aware of what commitment actually requires. That is why they cannot dismiss this as fantasy. Even when they imagine the worst, their mind returns to you. Even when they question whether they are ready, they continue preparing. Even when fear tells them the difference between you is too complicated, their feelings continue pointing toward connection. But emotional certainty is only part of the promise. Still, their choice cannot remain only an emotional conclusion. The next card asks how they intend to support it in real life. The answer appears through the kind of future this person has quietly begun imagining with you. The Ten of Pentacles appears here, and psychologically this card represents lasting security, shared values, emotional continuity, and the desire to build something that remains meaningful after the first intensity of attraction settles. This younger admirer does not want their feelings to exist only in private thoughts or beautiful possibilities. They want to understand what it would mean to create a connection that can survive ordinary life. That distinction matters. They may imagine being present during the quiet parts of your day, not only the romantic ones. They think about supporting your goals, respecting the life you have already built, and becoming someone whose presence brings steadiness rather than disruption. They want to show that they can keep their word, communicate when something feels uncomfortable, and remain consistent even when emotion is not carrying the moment forward. For them, proof may look surprisingly simple. It may mean respecting your boundaries without taking them personally. It may mean listening carefully instead of rushing to defend themselves. It may mean managing their responsibilities, following through on plans, and allowing trust to grow at a pace that feels safe for both of you. They understand that one confession cannot establish maturity. Only time and behavior can do that. The Ten of Pentacles also suggests that this person is thinking beyond the difference in your ages. They are not expecting love to erase that reality or make every practical concern disappear. They know the two of you may have different experiences, timelines, responsibilities, or expectations. But they no longer see those differences as automatic evidence that the connection cannot work. They see them as subjects that deserve honest conversation. And this is where their emotional choice becomes more grounded. Choosing you does not simply mean following desire. It means being willing to learn your needs, speak clearly about their own, and discover whether your values can meet in real life. They want to be taken seriously, but they are beginning to understand that seriousness cannot be demanded. It must be demonstrated. This card does not guarantee that they will create the future they imagine. It shows the psychological direction of their feelings. Their heart is not moving toward a temporary experience. It is searching for stability, belonging, and a form of love that feels strong enough to be lived openly. The age gap means less to them because they are no longer measuring the connection through numbers alone. They are measuring it through respect, loyalty, patience, and the willingness to build carefully. With stability, now part of the picture, the final card turns their attention toward what could genuinely unfold from here. What becomes possible is not a perfect ending arriving all at once. It is a future that can finally be approached with open eyes. The Three of Wands appears as the final card, and psychologically it represents expansion, forward vision, and the willingness to move beyond the limits that fear once created. This younger admirer is beginning to look past the question of whether they should feel this way, and toward a more honest question. What could happen if they allowed the connection to be real? They may not know exactly how the future will unfold. They cannot control your response, remove every practical concern or guarantee that the two of you will want the same things. But they are becoming more willing to discover the truth, instead of protecting themselves with endless assumptions. That is the emotional journey revealed through this reading. What began as a feeling they tried to contain became something they had to examine. Their courage brought hidden fears to the surface. Those fears exposed the pressure they had placed on themselves to appear completely ready, completely certain, and somehow untouched by vulnerability. But no one enters a meaningful connection without vulnerability. This person has begun to understand that choosing you does not require pretending the age difference is invisible. It requires refusing to let that difference make every decision before trust, compatibility, and mutual interest have even been explored. The Three of Wands shows their attention moving forward. For many of you, this admirer's feelings appear deeper than attraction. They are not only imagining the excitement of being close to you, they are considering what it would mean to communicate honestly, respect the life you already have, and create space for something that develops gradually rather than burns brightly and disappears. They are moving toward choosing you over the fear that once told them the connection was too complicated to acknowledge. But that choice begins within them. It means accepting their feelings without demanding an outcome. It means approaching you with sincerity while honoring your boundaries. It means allowing your actions and theirs to reveal whether the emotional promise can become something mutual, stable, and real. The cards do not guarantee a confession or relationship. They suggest a person whose inner direction is changing. Silence no longer feels like peace. Waiting no longer feels endlessly responsible. And the age gap no longer feels powerful enough to cancel what their heart has recognized. You are not being asked to abandon discernment. You are being invited to remain open to honesty, when it is supported by respect, patience, clarity, and consistent action. If this reading resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to Astral Card Vault, and comment, "Love chooses courage." Because real love is never measured by the distance between two numbers, but by the integrity of the people willing to cross it.